Cross River threatens to sack 7,000 appointees without APC membership cards. And fear mounts over job losses as business. The All Progressive Congress in Cross River State has threatened to relieve 7,000 of the Governor Ben Ayade appointees of their appointments for failing to register with the party. The chairman of the 31 party in Cross River State, Mr. Basi Okon. Thank you very much, Dick. If I remember clearly, in his government.
Well, the idea of having it anyway. Having a government that large without people actually contributing anything, in terms of having jobs cut out for them, responsibilities, duties, functions, for me, that has been a complete aberration. I've been against it from the word go. That's from 2015 when this whole Makaba dance started. I've spoken against it, and I will never support such a system of government. Government isn't supposed to provide employment at that level. Governments are supposed to provide enabling environment for businesses, private businesses to thrive. Put infrastructures in place, put policies, to drive the private sector so that people can get jobs. Not
Governor Ayade boasts of doing all of these things every time. I'm sorry, Mr. Okon, for butting in. This is what your governor boasts of every single time. We have a very beautiful billboard of Cross River State here in Lagos, painting a beautiful picture of how well the state is doing, how empowered the young people are, how much policies and programs that he's put in place to move the state forward. If you're sitting there and telling me that this is not the case, what's then to believe?
He boasts of everything and anything. That's how my governor is. That's how he's wired. And we have come to accept him in that way. And the whole thing starts and ends where you see it, on billboards, on internet, here and there. That's where it starts. If you ask for the real contribution by these over 7,000 or so employees he brought into his political, by way of political appointments into the system, you'll be amazed on real things, where they came from. Some of them were farmers in the rural communities, producing foodstuff, doing things that were able to put food on their tables and feed their families.
But I'm curious,
only to be called out to come to state capital and then look around how many years running.
Why would anybody on that list, these 7,000 appointees, leave whatever source of livelihood they had, if they had any, or leave wherever they were living and come to the state capital to take an appointment that you say does not have a portfolio per se, it does not have a job description, and does not have an office? Why would well-thinking Cross Riverians take these appointments if you say...
Appointee, bad weight, there's a weight that comes automatically upon an appointee, that is what people think. It's an edge over them doing whatever they were doing in their rural communities. The urge to be seen as, okay, I'm now a system man, I'm now a stakeholder, as most of them call themselves. They say they are now stakeholder. Yadea has done what government as stakeholders. Stakeholders contributing what? That's the question.
So now that the governor is insisting that
how many of them are really contributing and impacting on governance.
Well, I guess
That's
I go that that's a question that the governor and his people need to answer. But now that the governor is insisting that these 7,000, or rather the APC, which is the governor's new party, is insisting that these 7,000 men and women become members of the APC. And this seems like an ultimatum of sorts. And if they do not join, they will be sacked. Is there any law that backs this? Of course, he's saying that, according to the party laws, outsiders are not supposed to be holding these political appointments because the APC is the government in power. And so by the laws or whatever in the regulations of the APC, these people have to be members of political parties because they need structures in the local government areas that these men and women come from. If the governor does indeed decide that he's going to sack some men and women who decide that they do not want to necessarily join the APC, do they have a case anywhere against the governor if they be sacked?
okay. Number one, I'm a bit confused about the ultimatum. Who it came from is a bit of an issue to me. That instruction came from the state chairman-elect of the ruling party.
Yeah.
The state chairman-elect, Alphonsus Eba. In what capacity is he speaking to? Is he issuing such an order to his fellow appointees? Alphonsus Eba is also an appointee, like the people who is issuing these instructions. So, in what capacity is he doing this? He's not in government, he's not the governor, he's not the deputy, he's not the SSG. He's the state chairman-elect, yet to be inaugurated, yet to take oath. He's even an appointee in the DGB process office. So I'm equally at a loss. This kind of instruction, on what basis, how an appointee issuing an instruction to other appointees numbering about 7,000. How?
What?
He didn't say he was speaking on behalf of the governor. There's nothing to show or to prove that he had the mandate of the governor to so direct.
Well, I'd like to quote.
Let's even leave that aside.
I'd like to quote from I'd like to cite the article where he was quoted, quoting from. He was citing Article 9, subsection 5 of the APC's constitution, which he said bars members taking appointments with the government of other political parties. He said it was compulsory for civil servants to register and identify with the party in power. So he's not just talking about these appointees, he's also looking at, he's eyeing civil servants to also be part of this registration process. But I'm trying to understand which civil service law allows for this pronouncement that he has made to accommodate this ultimatum. I do not know if you're a civil servant. Is there any law under the Civil Service Act that allows for this to hold sway?
Civil servants are not supposed to be members of the political parties. Civil servants are meant to drive the process of an administration towards delivering the goals and objectives. They are not supposed to be members of the political party. If what you are reading is actually what Eba meant, then it's totally wrong. It's totally wrong. We can't. Even the governor cannot threaten civil servants to join this party. It's not. It's not possible. It's not acceptable in any climate. Civil servants, it can't work. Okay, let me ask. Those civil servants working in, let's say, the State Independent Electoral Commission, you have civil servants working there. They now join APC. What becomes of elections that will be conducted by such a body?
Interesting.
What becomes of elections that will be conducted by such a body?
I'd like to quote another thing. I'd like to quote another thing that he said. He said, here as a party, I'm quoting Eba, We want to make it known today that all heads of government at local government level and at the state must follow the provisions of our Constitution with effects from January 1 of 2022. Those appointees of the government that are yet to be registered and fully participate in activities of the party shall cease to hold respective offices. He goes ahead to say, we therefore call on local government chairmen who today had over 20,000 appointees of 5 persons per rolling unit to the 3,281 polling units and on the state government payroll. We call on the Auditor General to take note that our 7,000 and 8,000 appointees of government who are yet to be registered with the APC must be relieved of their appointments henceforth. Make it make sense, please.
It makes sense to me. It's very clear to me, but it is an aberration. If it's addressing political appointees, fine, I can understand. Most of those people, they've not been paying their salary. So maybe it's a strategy to send them packing by January 1. The governor has not been paying salaries of so many of these appointees. So many of them are grumbling. They've not received salaries. The local government system, that's the political appointees in the LG, no money to pay it. Maybe that's why this is coming up now. Like I've told you, local government appointees, chairman, council chairman, vice chairman, and the rest of the political structures in the LGs, 3 months running, no salaries. So add to the other appointees in the system, in the executive, so many of them are going without salary. So many of them, they don't even know what salary drops per time. They can see an alert now. They don't know whether it's for October, whether it is that of May that they didn't pay. It will be July. So whatever they see is what they take. Is that a government? Is that how things are done?
But then the PDP is also there in the state. What is the PDP doing to put the government on its fits? Because I was having a conversation with a person some days ago, and the person complained about the state of things in Cross River State. But then there is an opposition that once used to be the government or the party that was leading the state that seems to be half past dead. Why is the PDP not doing its job as a credible opposition to the APC if you're complaining this bitterly about how the governor is governing the state?
Oh, definitely PDP has been saying all they need to say. We've said everything that needs to be said about what's going on in Cross River. Is it the decay in infrastructure? Is it the tourism industry, the tourism sector that has kneeled out? Is it water supply? Is it education? We've talked about all these things. PDP is doing its utmost as an opposition party in this state to ensure that this government sits up. But, we can only do our best as opposition. It lies with the governor to now decide, okay, the things that have been my attention is being drawn to. I'm going to look at them one by one, or I'm going to, show some traction in certain areas and show that, okay, yes, I'm a listening governor. I've heard what the people are saying, and these are the things that I'm putting in place.
Is the governor a listening
But we are not seeing any of these things.
Be a change of heart whatsoever.
I don't see any change of heart. He doesn't listen. He's the all-knowing one. He's the one that knows it all. He doesn't listen. He's supposed to taking advice, looking for extra knowledge from anywhere. State Executive Council meeting is not what we used to know State Exco meetings of those days to be. He himself has said it that he can run the government without commissioners, without council members. He has said it. That he's doing them a favor. So he has always had this body language. I'm all knowing. I'm the one that that is running this system.
Okay.
I know what to do. I know what not to do. So I don't see any change in his demeanor going into 2022. He has about 17 months to run. I don't see any change from based on even the budget that he presented a few weeks ago. I don't really have any hope in that budget like the past 5 budgets that he has presented. So we are not seeing a man who is ready to, initiate processes to correct the errors of the past.
I want to quickly move away from Ayade and talk about the PDP quickly before I let you go. Now,
okay.
we've seen that the governor has obviously moved from the PDP to the APC and took a massive chunk of members of your party to the APC, including taking your former party secretariat and turned it into an APC state secretariat. Yeah. Like I asked earlier on, it looks like the PDP is half past dead. What is the PDP doing to rejuvenate itself, to rebrand itself? Is the PDP at this moment, or will it be capable to take back power? Or do we see the APC producing another governor that would one way or the other be at the behest of Governor Ben Ayade?
The APC can't produce the next governor.
Why not?
The PDP did a rebound immediately after he got our former state office. He immediately got another place while looking into the issue of our office that he has
hang on to, or should we just jettison that hope and look to the APC, knowing that the PDP has taken some blows, because this is the first time such a thing is happening in the state?
Yes, the party has rebounded. The structures at the local government and the ward levels are all in place. 23. So the party is intact. The party is intact.
What about the argument about zoning? We see a Sandy Ono saying that zoning has to be jettisoned. It's an age-old, archaic thing. So really, the PDP still has to deal with the issue of zoning, and some people say.
Alfonso say Eban is presenting pending inauguration. There are people contesting the process that brought them up. A serious contention. In fact, this announcement, let me put it very clear. This announcement to 7,000 appointees is because they have pillars that in January they'll begin to see people in government declare for the PDP. That's a very about the government house of Calabar. I don't see it happening.
Well, let's see. Whatever happens in Cross River State is something that remains to be seen. But I want to say thank you. Bassey Okon is a member of the People's Democratic Party in Cross River State. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are very much on ground here. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll look into the federal government's plan to increase taxes and levies and what repercussions it will have on businesses, especially in the private sector. Stay with us.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
We hear people say that the government doesn't care.
Style. And I think that his health has not helped matters, and I think we need to take cognizance of that. But you could easily have bridged that gap by empowering other institutions and organs of communication. And what I see, unfortunately, and for me, this is one of the greatest tragedies, that what I see is almost constantly, the president is almost like fighting, with citizens. The speech is full of warnings and so on and so forth.
Every time there are issues within the political parties, you're going to find as many as 3-4 different conflicting. None of them has been taken before any judge to be tried. 11, this is the 12th month.
In terms of investigative journalists, ICIJ, the media in Nigeria really is struggling as far as funds are concerned, and investigative journalism is not cheap. I mean, I get people calling into my radio program to give me information, and then the next thing they say, Marian, you're aware of this because we hosted a morning radio program for many years together, and they would say, oh, you're an investigative journalist, go and investigate. And then I'll say, hey, excuse me, hold on. You think it's free to investigate? You think I can just stand up and go? People go to war zones and they have people. How many journalists have life insurance? How many journalists are working in organizations where their basic Medicare, their HMO is even guaranteed, taken care of? So it is not cheap. We're not doing enough, but Nigerian journalists are doing the best they can.
Fine and well, you're telling me that this is an agitation, but I'm trying to understand the part of the agitation where you kill your brother, you destroy your own businesses, you destroy buildings and facilities that are in your communities to help your people. I'm trying to understand how these types of agitation would help your cause.
Yeah, what is happening in that killing, in any, just like when they had NSAS, so criminals cashed in on that and hijacked NSAS and gave it a criminal coloration. The same thing with the agitation that is going on, creating a siege environment, and some people went to bring in some other people from outside the southeast that are perfecting the killing.
Who are these people who went to bring other people outside the southeast?
Well, by what we had from the investigation going on, the people who are the assassins are not Igbos. They are not Igbo people. People are hired from outside the southeast to settle some scores. Sometimes business, sometimes politics. So, but the truth of the matter.
The organized private sector of Nigeria, comprising of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, among others, have expressed its opposition to any attempt by the federal government and other tiers of government to introduce new taxes or levies. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Budget, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, had said the ministry is closely studying the possibility of introducing new taxes, tariffs and levies as part of measures to shore up government revenue. Well, joining us to discuss this is financial analyst Richard Inoyo and managing partner Viral Business Consulting Limited, Nkem Joseph Palmer. Thank you very much, Mr. Palmer, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mary.
All right.
Nice to see you.
Great. So when it comes to taxation, we know that the different ways of taxing the system. I mean, just recently, Lagos and River State governments were fighting the federal government on VATs. And here we are. The government is trying to shore up its revenue. And the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria.
Nigeria was now 115. And that means in terms of spending capacity, Nigeria came second to the last, 115. So I understand the pressure to improve revenues. In fact, the way it's going, if Nigeria doesn't do something drastic, by 2021, you will find out that total revenues to the states is certainly going to decline drastically. And of course, we know what the ripple effect will be. So do we need more revenue? The answer is yes. The question is how? How should Nigeria shore up its revenue? As a business person, I already understand the challenge, and I can tell you the truth. A tuber of yam at farm gate prices, last time I checked, was about 70 to 150 naira at around Nasarawa, Coastal Axis. That same tuber of yam will probably be about 500 naira to 700 naira in Port Harcourt or Lagos. What that means is, when you want to ask yourself, you will say, okay, so what happened? How did something that was just 70 naira become 500 naira? The answer is there are so many hidden costs to every business in Nigeria. Typical business, value chain. Again, you find out that apart from the registered government taxes and levies they have to pay, there's also the issue of people who have put themselves as gatekeepers in the process, middlemen. And then when the yam gets to us, it comes at 500 naira. Now, the truth is, for almost every goods or service produced in Nigeria, there are direct and indirect costs. And I can tell you that every business functions along 3 lines. One, to improve effectiveness. So you produce, say you produce palm oil or vegetable oil. If you can meet your targets, basically I want to produce 50 liters or 50 tons vegetable oil daily for manufacturing companies to do that. If I can do that, I'm being effective. And if I can do that perform within the context of the economy.
Well, talking about the context of the economy, let's go back to the basics. You made mention while you were trying to describe the business environment in Nigeria, you talked about the average business person being a government to himself, getting your own light, paying for your own water, sometimes even grading the road to your business area. A holding company was going to take their light for about 18 hours, and this was the time that they needed the light the most to do their businesses, and that they might also be on the losing end. So if the government has failed to produce or provide these things for these businesses to thrive, and then they're still trying to tighten the belts of these business owners to pay more taxes, does it really make sense?
Marian, I completely agree with you. I mean, in another life, I was the head of an FMCG company who manufactured a number of things. And I can tell you that my greatest nightmare is not to have government lights. We had several transformers running. We had a 32 kVA transformer. We had other 11 kVA, our 6 11 kVA transformers there. Not even getting government lights. And perhaps not even getting gas, because we run on gas to produce our power. And I've done the numbers, and for me, the cheapest source of light, of power from any manufacturing concern, and all that, things come to bear when you are doing appropriate pricing of your products. So it's almost impossible for you to make a profit. And people do make negative, facing a difficult situation, yes. You don't understand that if they don't do something urgent and drastic like next year, yes. And that could include issues like the issue of PMS, and do we remove the revenue, do we remove the subsidy or not? That's another story. That could also mean cutting down the cost of doing business. Because every business, look at it from a very empirical way. The only way, the simple 3 most basic ways for business, and government is a business, to grow their revenues is 1, increase your number of sales. You sell more items, you get it out. 2, you increase your profit margins. And finally, if you're not increasing the number of sales, you're not reduce the cost of governance.
Someone from the MAN, which is the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, who said that doing this will mean that it would be counterproductive for businesses. He said, according to him, it will further stifle the already burdened businesses, most of whom currently operate at less than 50%. The more idle hands we have, the more devil's workshops will be opening across the...
Man will be seriously worried. Typically, they want to move out quickly into the market. So the margins are not fantastic. If you put more pressure on the margins, what's the incentive to do the business? And I expect that some businesses will just simply close down. Honestly. And when they close down, what are we going to do? He's so right. What is going to happen to jobs? We're already battling. And really, note that Nigeria is not operating in the best security climate. I was in Maiduguri some time back, wearing another hat. And I had a meeting with Chamber of Commerce. And they were, they felt, strangulated by so many things. In a place where there's insurgency, the private sector has borne the brunt of it, because their business have been targeted by the insurgents and so many other things. there seems to be nothing to help them come out. And we do know, we do not understand the challenges. The government does understand the challenges. I mean, I know they know this. They don't live in another planet. You know, and the truth of the matter is that if government is interested in actually, and I agree, government should find new innovative ways to improve revenue. But you cannot ask businesses who are already overburdened. If you can provide the right infrastructure, what have you done? You have created better margins for them. They don't need to buy diesel anymore. They don't need to, look for alternative power sources. And for every manufacturing business, the major problem is power. So if you can do that and provide good infrastructure for road, so the cost of the feedstock they need to run their plants drops. Then you have created a new margin where you can now say, okay, I've created the enabling environment for you. So on the basis of that, I want to add a little levy or tax. That could make sense. But when you see people already overburdened, honestly, I don't know where the idea is coming from. But
what do you as a business person think is the problem, aside from the fact that, the enabling environment is not there for us? But then what happened to the big industries that we had, the reviving of these industries? I mean, take a look at the Ajaokuta Steel and several other big government facilities that have just literally been laying fallow. There have been a lot of questions as to why we have just somewhat become comfortable with just producing oil and selling at a benchmark, which, again, let's not kid ourselves. Oil will not be there forever. Countries are moving to green energy and gas. But we're still here talking about crude oil and depending solely on it. Whatever happened to other, aspects of growing the country? I mean, agriculture is one side, which we continuously pay lip service to. We have not really addressed the issue of agriculture. But then what about manufacturing?
Down the population growth rate. Population growth is about 22.5 to 2.7%. But according to Statistics in General, the economy in Q3 of this year should be growing at 4.03%. So which means we're hoping that things will change. But you see, Marianne, if you don't fix certain things, then at best we'll be having very untrammeled growth. We'll grow, but the issues around it will stifle that growth. Tell me, what grows the economy? We talked about the issue of balance of trade. I mean, how much are we exporting and how much are we importing? How do we stop the millions of Nigerians from consuming foreign products? I mean, one of the things I've heard some people talk about, and it makes a lot of sense to me, is the concept of import substitution. You say, okay, we're buying all our tissue paper from, say, London. Why don't we create the capacity for people to produce it locally? We buy our wines and spirits from so place. Why don't we create the capacity to do that? I strongly believe in a selective delinking from the global economy. And until Nigeria comes to that realization, until we learn to tighten our belt and say, oh, we can do without a lot of things that we do. And then not only do we cut down on the consumption, we ask ourselves, how do we produce? And the government provides incentives and guarantees that helps people produce. If I know that the government, when you say this, people say, oh, they open the borders, they will bring, a good chunk of the some of these angles. Nigeria first. Perhaps if we can get someone who will sit down and you can't make any omelette without breaking some eggs. That's the honest truth.
Okay.
So if we can rejig our thoughts and get people in government and governance to bite the bullet and do the right thing, perhaps there will be some glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, Nkem Joseph Palmer is the managing partner of Viral Business Consulting Limited. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank
Apologies,
you so much,
we could not get Richard Inoyo to join us. Thank you so much once again, Nkem.
Thank you so much, Marianne.
All right.
Pleasure.
Thank you all for staying with us. It's been Plus Politics on Plus TV Africa. I'm Marianne Akon. Thanking you for watching. Do have a good evening.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty